it's Emma, welcome back to my channel. So today I'm going to be doing a big travelling Q&A. I thought it'd be a good idea to do one video where I answer all the questions that I get asked most frequently, everything and anything that you guys want to know about backpacking, travelling, solo travel. So the first question is, what is the worst thing about staying in hostels? There are good things about staying in hostels, especially for solo travellers. That's the best way to meet people. But there are so many things about hostel rooms that I do not miss. For me personally, I'd probably have to say the worst thing about staying in hostel rooms is people snoring. Some people are probably not as affected by this, but I literally cannot sleep if someone is snoring in the room. But there were some times when I was travelling that people snored to the point like it was not normal. It's just especially annoying if you've got an activity planned the next day, or if it's a travel day and you've got to be up really early and you haven't slept the whole night. If you're a light sleeper, then you probably won't enjoy staying in hostel rooms. There was this one time that me and my friend Hannah, this girl that I met, were staying in a hostel in Santa Marta in Colombia. We were only there for one night, thank God. We got to wake up and check out, but we had a travel day and I was so tired because this guy in the bed next to me was snoring like a machine. I'm not exaggerating, I've never in my life heard any noise like that come from a person. It was like I had a drill next to my ear. The second question that I get asked quite a lot as a solo traveller is, how do you meet people? Obviously you guys will have seen if you watched my backpacking vlogs that in pretty much every vlog I was always with people. I always had friends, I was always hanging out with people. As I said earlier, the main way to meet people as a solo traveller is by staying in hostels. You will either meet people in your hostel room or in the hostel social areas and common areas, and you pretty much just have to go up to people and say hi to them. It's really not that scary and people are used to it because that's why everyone stays in hostels, is to meet people. The next question, which is kind of related to that one about meeting people, is, have you ever not liked people that you met while travelling? Yes, all the time. I feel like people don't really talk about this and they only show their travel friendships or the people that they met and they really got on with, and you don't see all the times that you meet people and you don't get on with people, and that does happen a lot. At the end of the day, you're meeting more people than you've probably ever met in your whole life. You're meeting people of all ages, from all walks of life, from all different parts of the world, people with different viewpoints, different personalities. You're going to meet so many people that you just don't like, and that's fine. You don't have to carry on being friends with them, you don't have to travel with them, and it's also not the end of the world. I've seen loads of people post things saying that they're having a really bad time travelling or they're really lonely because they've met people that they don't like. So when I arrived in Nicaragua, I had been travelling for about 2 months, nearly 2 months at that point, and I'd made so many friends, met so many nice people, but I didn't really feel like I'd met anyone who was a best friend or anyone who I really gelled with, anyone who I'd been with for longer than 2 or 3 days. And it was getting to me a little bit, and then literally the next day after I was feeling sad, I went to Granada, checked into my hostel, and I met Molly, I met Caitlin from Australia, I met Indy, who was my travel bestie, and we stayed travelling together, me and Indy, for like 3 weeks. Literally did everything together. My point is, you just have to stick with it. There will be times where you feel like you've not clicked with as many people. The next question, kind of a juicy one, but I feel like it's something a lot of people wonder. It is, do people have sex in hostels? Some people do have sex in hostel dorms, like when there's other people in the room. I don't do this, I've never done this. I would never ever bring someone back to a dorm that's full of people. I feel like I've been quite lucky in the hostels that I've been in. I've not really had any really bad experiences of this, but I have heard some horror stories of people being in rooms where people are doing things around them, and obviously it's not ideal. I think the majority of people tend to avoid taking people back to the dorm room. If you're worried about that happening, if you want to avoid that, then I would tell you guys to avoid all of the big classic party hostels, which is probably where you're most likely to see that happening. The next question is, what happens if you run out of money? So I ran out of money on both of my trips. That's why I came home when I did. There are ways to extend it for longer, like you could do volunteering and stuff, but I thought, what's the point? Like, I may as well just come home and start earning money again rather than just prolonging something when I've literally got no more money left. If you are running out of money, obviously it is sad if you don't want to come home yet and you don't feel like you're ready to come home. You can always go back and do the trip again when you've got more money. The next question is, did you have any travel romances? I actually didn't really have any travel romances. Like, there's literally nothing that exciting to tell you guys. I wish there was, but the first time that I went backpacking, I did my 4 months in Southeast Asia, and I started out with my boyfriend, and then we broke up and he went home. I stayed traveling, but I literally like didn't get with anyone at all because obviously I was newly single. I was just like getting used to the idea, wasn't really interested in seeing anyone. And then the second time around, when I went to South America, obviously I'd been single a while and I felt like I was ready to start like meeting people and stuff. So yeah, my whole time in South America, I literally kissed one person. I'm the type of person, like, I won't get with people just for the sake of it. That was completely fine because I had the best time with all my friends and making memories and seeing the new places, which is what I went traveling for. I didn't go to get with loads of guys, so I don't really care that that didn't happen for me. It does for some people, and some of my friends had like great times doing that. The next question is, how much did you spend over your time in Southeast Asia and how long were you there for? So I was in Southeast Asia for 4 months. I did 3 weeks in Thailand, then I flew to Vietnam. I did almost 2 weeks in Vietnam. Then from Vietnam I flew to Bali and I did 1 month in Bali. From Bali I flew to Malaysia and I did 2 weeks in Malaysia, including 1 week in Borneo. And then from Malaysia I went to Singapore and I did a week in Singapore. From Singapore I went back to Thailand and I did just over a month in Thailand again. So I ended up doing like 2 months in Thailand and then 2 months the rest of it. I think I spent about £3,500 over the course of 4 months. I did book my one-way flight to Thailand in advance, obviously a few months before I set off, so that isn't included, but my flight home I booked while I was over there, so that flight home is included in that price. The next question is actually from the guy that I'm seeing right now, which is why I'm laughing. He put, hello, big fan of you and your videos, tell me how would you plan a month in Vietnam? So I did 2 weeks in Vietnam, as I said. Well, I actually did a bit less than 2 weeks, and I didn't have a great experience in Vietnam for a number of reasons, but basically I really want to go back to Vietnam, and on my next big trip I'm planning on going back and doing a lot of the things that I missed out on last time. But in terms of how I plan a trip, so when I'm planning a trip, the main place that I go first is actually TikTok and Instagram. What I love about TikTok and Instagram is that you can see pictures, you can see videos, people post travel guides, itineraries, obviously like I do. And yeah, I just find it really helpful when I'm researching and planning a trip. Also, people post food recommendations, sightseeing stuff. They literally post everything that you could need to know. But my number one tip actually in terms of planning for a backpacking trip is the best plan is no plan. When I first flew out to Southeast Asia, I had literally everything booked. I had all the hotels booked, I had all the activities planned, day to day, like it was so planned. And one of my biggest expenses, which is another question, one of the things that I lost the most money on was cancelling everything. Cancelling flights, cancelling hotels. The reason I ended up cancelling so much stuff was because the plans changed, and when you're backpacking that does happen. Like, you get to a place and you really like it, you want to stay longer, or you meet someone and they said that this place is really good and that's not on your list and you want to go there. You meet friends and you want to go somewhere with them. Like, so many things can happen, and I just think it's way better not to have every single step of your backpacking trip planned. Obviously you can have an idea of where you want to go, but I think it's way better to be more flexible with it. What a lot of people don't realise as well is that it's not like in England and even in like Western Europe where you would have to book things in advance and hotels would sell out and stuff. It's not really like that. Some of the top hostels and hotels might sell out in really peak season, but most of the time when people are backpacking, they book things like 1 or 2 days in advance. I would book things maybe like 3 days in advance because I hate leaving it to the last minute, but sometimes some backpackers even find their hostel like on the day, which I've never done because I'm too scared that I would have nowhere to stay, even though I know that wouldn't happen. But yeah, you can do things more last minute, and I recommend being more flexible with your planning. The next question is, do you have to be extroverted to travel? I definitely don't think you have to be extroverted to travel. I've met a lot of people while traveling who were shy. I met a lot of people who were super outgoing, and then I met a lot of people who were kind of in the middle as well. And yeah, there's literally a place for everyone. There's always going to be people like you. Not everyone is super extroverted, not everyone is really confident. The next question is, what is your biggest advice for someone who wants to go traveling but is too scared? My biggest piece of advice is just go for it. And I know that sounds really cliche or like really easy for you to say that because you've done it or because you're confident about traveling, whatever. But honestly, trust me, the more you think about it, the more worried and stressed you'll get. If you have the kind of mindset where you just go for it and you don't think about it until it's time, you will be so much happier. Ever since I was little, I've always loved going to theme parks, and I would literally put myself on the biggest roller coasters and the biggest rides, and I just wouldn't think about it the whole time that I was in the line. And then when I came to get on the roller coaster, I'd be like, oh my god, what am I doing? But then it was too late because I was already on the roller coaster, and I ended up having the best time. And now I'm obsessed with theme parks, and I've been raised obsessed with theme parks because I just pushed myself to do it and just try it, and I didn't think about it until the second that I was getting on the roller coaster. Like when I was flying by myself to Colombia, I tried not to think about it, and then when I sat on the plane next to these Colombian people and it said Colombia on the screen, I was like, oh my god, I'm a girl going to Colombia by myself, like what am I doing? Like, it might sound silly, but it does really work. Just book it, book the trip, and then when it comes to it, you're just going to do it, and it's going to be the best thing that you've ever done, I promise. Next question is, do you have to stay in hostels? You don't have to stay in hostels, but for solo travellers, hostels are the best way to meet people, and that's where most solo travellers do stay. If you're worried about staying in shared hostel rooms, a lot of hostels do have private rooms as well. They are more expensive, but obviously it would give you the chance of being in the hostel environment and still getting to meet people, but then you would have your own private room if that's something that you're interested in. Or if you really wanted to stay in hotels, you can still meet people on tours and trips and days out. You can meet people in cafes, in restaurants. I've also met a lot of people in Facebook travel groups. So there's one called Gals Who Travel, and there's one called The Travel Squad. And you post in there saying who you are, where you're from, where you're going, on what date. People reply saying they're doing the same thing, and then you end up messaging. Maybe you're even flying out at the same time as each other. The next question is, do you think you can travel if you're in a relationship? I think you can travel 100% if you're in a relationship. If you're with the right person, they should never stop you from doing what you want to do and stop you from going travelling. While travelling, I met so many girls who had boyfriends at home, who were in long-term relationships. Obviously, if you're not going to be coming back, that's a bit of a different question, but if you're going travelling and you're going to be coming back to him or her, like, there should be no issue really. Someone asked things that you packed that weren't useful and things you wish you did pack. Things I packed that weren't useful, I can't really think of that many because I feel like I used everything that I packed, but the only thing I can think of is my clothes. Both times I took way too many clothes with me. Most of the outfits I did not wear, so next time I need to be really strict. I think I forget sometimes that I'm backpacking and that I'm not in a fashion show. Things that I wish I did pack, maybe a hairdryer. So I took hair straighteners, which was pretty rare, and people were always surprised when they saw me with them, but I have no regrets in packing them. I love taking my hair straighteners, but the only thing was that I didn't have a hair dryer, so I'd have to air dry my hair before I could straighten it, which was a bit annoying. So I feel like maybe if I could squeeze in a small hair dryer next time, I would love that. Someone asked about visa info for Southeast Asia countries. I can't really answer that question because I don't know where you're from or which country in Southeast Asia that you're going to, but if you Google entry requirements for the country that you want to go to, then it will bring up the entry requirements for your country to get into that country. Just to make sure, please check the visa info yourself because I don't want to tell you any misinformation, but in my experience I never had to get a visa for any of the countries that I travelled to. Quite a few people asked, where are you off again on your next big trip, where are you going travelling next, etc. So I'm currently in the process of planning this literally right now, so I don't want to tell you guys my exact plan until it's confirmed. Not that I don't think it's going to get confirmed, but I'd just rather get it confirmed before I tell you guys exactly where I'm going. But it is something slightly different to what I was originally thinking of doing, but I am very excited for it, and I will be telling you guys literally as soon as I can tell you, because I don't think I'll be able to hold it in for much longer. But yeah, it is going to be sort of towards the end of this year. So that is all the questions that I'm going to answer, because I feel like this video was already quite long, and honestly I could go on for hours talking about travelling. So if you want me to do a part 2, or if you've got any more questions, feel free to leave them in the comments. If you guys enjoyed this video and you found it helpful, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and make sure that you are subscribed so you don't miss out on my upcoming content, and I will see you all in a video soon. Bye!